clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Indianapolis, you're invited. Join Crossroads AME Church and Common Grounds Institute for the Community Quality of Life event, a free day of resources and connection. Saturday, March 21st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Martin Luther King Center, 40 West 40th Street. Discover help with food, housing, health, and wellness, plus chances to win prizes. Bring the family and come out for a powerful day of community. Call 317-300-5157 for details. Building healthier, stronger communities together.
Indianapolis, get ready. One of the most exciting HBCU sporting events of the year is coming to the Circle City. Celebrate the 5th anniversary HBCU All-Star Game experience on Easter Sunday, April 5th at 1 p.m. at the Indiana State Fairgrounds during college basketball's biggest weekend and men's national basketball tournament championships. See the nation's top 24 HBCU All-Stars and elite coaches compete, representing the very best in black college basketball from the SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, and SIAC. Tennessee State, Hampton, North Carolina A&T, and more. Arrive early at noon for the pre-game fan fest and Black Business Showcase, celebrating Black excellence, entrepreneurship, and community impact. Plus, experience the Grammy Award-winning Tennessee State University Aristocrat Band, combined 9 organizations, HBCU alumni, and community leaders all in one place. Don't miss this historic celebration of Black excellence, Black history, and Black culture. Get your tickets now at HBCUAllStarGame.com. Sunday, April 5th, for Teva Coliseum, Indianapolis. You don't want to miss it.
Did you hear about the plan? TV Wonderland sitcoms on the weekends with friends, not a fact. Take back how it started. She liked the Cosby's. She's just single, but then she wanted to party. Let's have a good time. I showed you a different world. Moving on up, you know I need a girl. Staying up late, watching Stanford and Son. I'm coming, Elizabeth, for what's the big one? TV1. They always get it done.
TV Wonderland, tonight at 6 on TV1. Big refund, big project, big savings at Menards. Turn your tax refund into your next big project. Improve your home's value and appearance with a new garage door from Ideal Door. Choose from our large in-stock selection or design your own using our free garage door design and buy program. Same thing in Ideal Garage Doors. And don't forget to check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Car wrecks don't just happen on weekdays from 9 to 5. That's why Isaacs and Isaacs, we don't keep bankers hours. We work weekends. We're ready to fight for you. One call, that's all. Just click to get help quick at WeWin.com. That's WeWin.com.
W236CR, Indianapolis. Broadcasting from the Praise Indy Indigo Studios. Indigo, boldly moving Indy forward. We are Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM, Indy's inspiration station.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Unity in the Community. I'm your host, James Jackson, lead pastor of Fervent Prayer Church. Good to have you all here. Thank you for joining us on today. Happy spring. I think we're in the 3rd day of spring now, and the weather is showing it partly cloudy skies in the capital city. Hopefully you're out enjoying all that Indianapolis has to offer. It's going to be a great show on today, 317-480-1310. Again, 317-480-1310 is the number that you will need to be connected to the show on today. Please tell somebody to tell somebody that we are on, and you can also see who's saying what they're saying because we are live streaming on my page on Facebook, also known as Meta, James William Jackson, and the Fervent Prayer Church Facebook page, Meta, and also my YouTube channel. James William Jackson. So we're better than TriCasting. TriCasting sounds good, but we're streaming on and broadcasting. In fact, we're also streaming on the Praise Indie app. So you can get the app, so you can take us anywhere you go in the world, and we're streaming digitally and live. Good to have you here. We got AM 1310, 95.1 FM. We've got some great guests on today, so I don't want to delay too much because we have a full show on this afternoon. And good friend joining me, also two good friends, actually, three, three good friends. But in this segment, we've got Sheriff Kerry Forstall. Welcome to the program on today.
Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate it.
Good to have you here. And also Chaplin Wolly, longtime friend.
Thank you too, Pastor Jackson, and also Sheriff. It's good to see you again. To be here along with the Sheriff from Marion County.
Yeah.
Always.
And you know, of all the people I meet, there are not many men who pray more than I do. But Chaplain Wolly, whether you're on the phone with him or whatever, he's going to say, "Let's have a word of prayer." So, Chaplain, open us up in prayer today.
Eternal God, we come right now in the name of Jesus. We thank you for this day. For God, you are good and you're wonderful. We thank you for what you've done today and how you're going to bless this show and bless Indianapolis. And though, Lord, we thank you for your mercy, your grace, and your kindness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And you don't want to miss Bishop Tom Benjamin coming up in our next segment leading up to the 1 o'clock hour, talking about his book, The Kindness Code. That is the code that unlocks the door to anything that you want that's good in life. And he's got a book out about it. You can get it on Amazon, also at his website. We'll be talking about that here in just a little bit. But we're going to go straight to our Sheriff Kerry Forstall. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to have my good friend Chaplain Wolly introduce you. I got a whole thing here I could read, but I think it'd be more personal to have Chaplain introduce you to our community.
Absolutely. It's a great. I've definitely had the opportunity to have a relationship with Sheriff Kerry Forstall in terms of working with him down through the years. We've worked together real great. And so, but it gives me a great opportunity to present to the Indianapolis city, as well as he's changing the chapter and looking to run for state senate, and my prayers are with him. But it gives me a great opportunity to present to you Indianapolis and 1310 FM1 Sheriff Kerry Forstall, who's candidate for Senate.
Thank you, Chaplain. And like you said, we've been friends for a couple decades now. Started back under Sheriff Frank Anderson. And I will point out something. I'm going to change the weather report. I'm going to say it's sunny out today.
Great. You sound great.
I've been out this morning knocking on doors, getting out of the boat in Lawrence, and it's been sunny, and so has the disposition of everybody. Knocking on the door, everybody's been positive this morning. It's been really an interesting chance to knock on the doors. It's been a while since I've had to knock on doors in the community. We do so much, by television when you go a countywide race, but this is a more in-person where I'm knocking on the doors. People can ask me some questions. Either they did or did not like what I've done as sheriff, and so far I've got really positive responses, and then appreciate the fact that I'm running for state senate.
And talk to us about that, Sheriff. What precipitated the desire to transition from serving in public safety, which you've done for a number of years, to now desiring to serve the people in the Senate?
I'll say I looked at it a little bit more than a year ago. I did not think I was ready to retire. I'm looking at what else I could do for service. The state senator up there, Kyle Walker, who's a Republican, I thought, this guy is a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I looked at his positions and I said, we're not far apart, that's what I like. I don't need the 15% on either end that gets sometimes too extreme. I think 70% of the people want to walk down the middle and just make government work and work for them. So I thought, there's no reason to run. But that all changed around Christmas when Kyle Walker chose not to run. And some people said, what do you think about that? I said, okay, let's do that. So I actually called him and said, I plan to do that. And he said, I'll hold that information for a couple of weeks. I said, choose whatever, but I just want to tell you what's my plan. And then I've reached out to some other people who've supported me as sheriff, and we've been at it.
And so congratulations.
Thank you.
And anyone who I have a high regard and respect for anybody that runs for anything. It's quite a task. And you're going into this, and of course, as a Democrat, and the state legislature is predominantly Republican. They have a supermajority there. Do you feel or think you can make a difference up against that kind of situation?
I think I can. I think it makes it a little bit more challenging for them to do whatever they want to do if we don't have somebody at least stand up and give some counterbalance, even if it's just so they hear there's a counterbalance. I mean, like recently they passed the law here to make homelessness criminal. I mean, I went over there and spoke against that law. I mean, it's a calm word, but it's crazy to have done it that way. I mean, they recommended that if you have homeless, you can have a Class C misdemeanor, which is the lowest level misdemeanor. That's 60 days in jail. It costs $85 a day to house somebody in the jail. So that's $4,000 they're going to spend to put somebody in jail for 2 months. I guarantee for $4,000, we can find better ways to spend that money. The state senator who proposed the bill, she never reached out to me. It's not because I'm Kerry Forstall, but I'm going to be the most affected by our jail. It's going to put a crimp in our population. There's many other ways to spend that money than to say, put them in jail. And when I went over and spoke to some of the state reps, the state senators, they said, well, when we come in town, we don't like to see them laying out in front of our condos that we rented while we're in town. So their plan was to arrest them and send them to jail. I mean, it's the need to help them. Yeah, they may have covered it by saying it was to help them, but that's not helping them putting them in jail. So if we don't speak up, then they'll pass crazy laws like that.
And speaking of speaking up, your purview as far as some of the challenges that we're facing in our community is pretty vast. Of course, we're dealing with mental health. As I understand it, estimated 1 out of 5 Americans have some mental health issue, and you've been leading the number one mental health facility in state of Indiana, as I understand it. So how can you take your insight and understanding of what you have been seeing and dealing with on a day-to-day basis, take it to the state and help all the Hoosiers?
Well, I think that's one of the important things. It's a title I do not like, is to be running the largest mental health hospital in the state. But it's by default what happens because they call the police when people don't know what to do. And I think the mayor's done a great job with LAMPD where they have now clinicians arrive on the scene on events. But we know we can't send a doctor or a nurse to everything. But they are using programs like that. And they actually had the assessment and intervention center, which was built just outside the jail. And the goal was send them there first instead of jail. That's worked to a degree, but it's still where people can just walk away. And when they're not in their best mental health state, they may not make the best decision. Well, one of the things I also don't like, I don't like the law enforcement involved in the mental health part of it. I mean, when somebody comes in here and they're being brought in for mental health treatment, and their doctor's going to evaluate for 48 or 72 hours. There should be orderlies, mental health people, somebody less than the police with more of a focused training than the police, because if they resist, they put their hands on the police, next thing they've got a criminal charge and that vicious circle starts over. And that's very frustrating to me to have us as the default last person to do. So, Eskenazi and some of the other hospitals, I believe, should not have law enforcement putting the hands on the people who are there for mental health.
All right, outstanding. And District 31, running for Indiana State Senate, we have Sheriff Kerry Forstall here with us. That's Lawrence, Fishers, Geist, Northeast, Marion County area. Every candidate has something, or we call a platform, that they're running on. What are your top issues?
Well, we mentioned the one on the mental health. I'd actually like to see where we would have regional hospitals instead of jails, the same money they could have spent. When I was walking around as the sheriff at one of the 4 years ago, somebody said, Sheriff, could you promise in this new jail, you'll put 300 additional beds in the jail for people to be in there for mental health? I said, no, that's completely against what we should be doing. Put those 300 beds someplace away from law enforcement. And I think she understood once I told that. It's not that I don't want to cooperate, but I don't want police officers putting their hands on the people who are mentally ill. It ought to be some of the clinicians and medical. So that's important. And then continue on the importance on the sex offenders. Marion County has 1,800 registered sex offenders. From the very start of my campaign 8 years ago, I wanted to continually focus on that. We have deputies who check on them on a regular basis, twice as much, which is required by the state. They're allowed to come back into the community, but there's a high recidivism in that crime. So if they're going to violate it, they need to go back to jail. They also don't need to keep coming to Marion County. One of the things the state does is it's simple for them just to send them back to Indianapolis into a program. That over 40% of the people here in Marion County were sentenced out of another county. They want to come here and become more invisible. They need to go back to their county that they were originally arrested and charged out of. I've worked with State Representative Gore, who's also on our sheriff's department, at his other job, state representative, to have that money follow that for that person who's arrested. So the state just doesn't have a DOC bus and drops it off down at the Wheeler Center and expects Indianapolis to absorb that cost and that problem. So we need them to have to go back to their community and receive the service there. I was told, well, it's not convenient because they like to have it here. Like I told the state, I don't care. Make it convenient for that county. Don't dump it on the city of Indianapolis and then be surprised when you say there's people walking around downtown with mental health problems.
All right, and your district is interesting because you go all the way out there, the Fishers, the Geist area, and of course you got Marion County, so median incomes are certainly different, particularly in the Black community. As a state senator, how do you think you can close that gap? You got a lot of Black families who are struggling, and of course times are tough. And some of our fellow Hoosiers north of Indianapolis doing a little better. So how can you address that?
Well, I think for one, to keep the utilities in check, they just can't turn around and constantly say we want more money because that comes from somebody. And that comes from me and you and everybody else who lives up in Lawrence and in Geist and in the parts of Fishers and Noblesville. So if you can reduce those costs or at least make them accountable for what they're going to fix, those kind of dollars add up if you watch them and I'm sure I do. I've been up there in Lawrence for 26 years, I think, I believe I've been up there. So, and I know my wife watches them because she'll call me and say, you know what you just wrote. I said, hey, okay, that's an idea, and I'm going to be working on that.
Mhm.
Also, I think we need to keep them people from out of state buying up large tracts of the neighborhoods just to raise the prices to turn around and raise the rent. That's got to be controlled.
Yeah.
We can't have outsiders who don't care what the city of Indianapolis is. They just want the money from the people that they're renting a house to.
Now they've sold I think they're in the process of selling, AES is selling the utility to another company. I don't know if they've closed that deal or not.
I don't know if they heard me coming or not, but I've been talking about this several months, and all of a sudden I saw that they're going to do that. So
So they're going to sell it? Do you know?
we'll see. I mean, usually the insiders only tell us what right after
Yeah.
the deal's already done.
And what's interesting, Roy pretty much determines everything in the city. That's return on investment. And if they do sell it, as a state senator, how can we try? Because whoever buys is going to want their return on investment, which in my mind would mean raising prices some kind of way. How can we? Do you think we can control that?
Well, I think we have to shine the light on it all the time so people don't do it in a dark back room. I mean, when they did the city of Lawrence water, it's been a couple decades ago. It was a different mayor than it is now. And all of a sudden they thought it was a good deal to change that water. And as soon as that mayor left, the prices went through the roof and the water quality wasn't any better. So you have to look at the long term when people are making plans. Who's making the plans that's going to affect me and you?
All right, Sheriff Gary Forstall's here, and you're going to be leaving quite possibly if you're elected, or I should say when you're elected, the sheriff's department. Who's going to be the best person to take that seat?
Kelvis Williams. Again, I'll tell you, that's Kelvis Williams. He's my executive officer right now. Kelvis has done a fantastic job, somebody you can count on. And I think similar to when I've had an opportunity when Sheriff Anderson passed it on to Sheriff Layton making a recommendation to me, and now Kelvis we're hoping to continue that legacy that started in the Frank Anderson, and saying that when we hand it off to the next person, they're the best prepared, not just somebody who woke up one day and decided they want to be the sheriff, but somebody who's prepared to do that all their life. And Kelvis Williams is that man.
All right, people who might want to support you, how can they do that?
On my website, it's Forstall for Senate, and we can happily get on there easily to get on there and contact me. And again, I won't forget Kelvis, because you can support Kelvis too.
All right, a couple of people want to say hello to you, or I think Andrea might want to have a question. So we're going to go to Andrea. Andrea, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was just wanting to comment or question about something that the gentleman was speaking upon. And so, like, they had opened up the Reuben Engagement Center, saying that they were going to have the homeless people and non-criminal people taken there. And then that folded up because they didn't send the people there. And then they had the AIC that has opened up for seemingly the same purpose. And now they're saying those beds are not being filled and it's subject to close for the same reasons, because they want to send the people to jail. And so as election time is coming up, and I don't know if these people that are being elected in May, shall we be reaching out to them to because the bill, the law is going into effect in July, making it a crime to be homeless. And so something needs to be done and changed with that. And how can we help that along with that change?
I agree with you, because the Reuben Engagement Center there on Market Street was a great project, and they moved everybody from there to the AIC. And originally, the AIC was designed to have 90 beds, but it was right. It's also bad timing because of COVID, so that the project was sheared back to 60. So about half of those people came from the Reuben Engagement Center, and there's still some questions when people get dropped off to the AIC. They can choose to leave, and we don't want it to be a jail, but if they don't take their medication, they're not making the best decision. Now, something I'm working with is Eskenazi. We'd like to see, we have a private vendor that does our medical right now. That has to be bid out on a regular basis. We've talked to Eskenazi on whether they would want to take over the medical so it'd be continuous, because unfortunately, a good percentage of the people that come to jail end up back out on the street. They need their medical. They go out to Eskenazi, then they come back to the jail. But if they stayed in the same system, I mean, they'd already have the medical care being occurring at our jail, then they go out to Eskenazi, and then they'd come back. Unfortunately, they're going to come back through it again, but if they could keep their medication, that's where we have a problem a lot of times. Somebody will go out, get off their medication, they'll start back over. So we're hoping that Eskenazi will look at this. It's an expensive proposition, but so is the medical care just going through the jail. So that's something we've been working with almost 2 years, in Eskenazi, and I'm hoping we could get that done before I leave. If not, see whether Kelvis wants to continue that.
Okay, I have another question. So the MCAT or whatever it is, where they have the mental health people with the police department go out, because I heard you also speak about not having the police put their hands on the mental disparity, and so how does that really work? Because I know Eskenazi has a crisis center, and are they really being utilized and all that kind of stuff? And so you say $4,000 for a person to go to prison. That's money right there to be utilized for these people going someplace else other than jail.
Yes, I can totally agree. Can't argue with you there. That's what I spoke in front of the state Senate. But the people that passed the bill thought it was better to send somebody to jail instead of somewhere else.
Of course.
And I think the MCATS program has been successful. It's expensive because you can't help to get a doctor and a nurse going to every run with the mental health. But I mean, ideally, that would be the goal. But if we could spend the money on a program like that, instead of $4,000 to send them in what I call right now my jail, and be Kelvis's when we're finished here. So, but if we spend $4,000 just to put them in a jail cell, that's not helping him. Now, we have good programs. Matter of fact, Mike Wolly's one of the parts of that program. We've got some great programs back in the jail. But I don't want people coming to jail just for that programs. We want them when they're in jail, we give them programs. But we don't want the source to be coming to the jail to get a program. It should be out on the, available to the public. Like I said earlier, maybe a regional hospital, 4 or 5 scheduled around the state where people could be coming in there and getting the care, not from the police, but from medical care people.
All right, Andrea, thank you for your call and comment. You're welcome. And we're going to bring on someone I think you know, Bishop Tom Benjamin, and he has been holding on the line. Bishop, are you there?
I am here. How are you today?
Good. I think you know these folks here, Sheriff Forstall, Chaplain Wolly.
How you doing, Bishop?
No, both of them.
Good afternoon, Bishop.
Yes.
Nice to hear you again.
And their predecessors.
Yes, I go back to another century. So, yes, I do know all of them, and I'm proud of the stance that the sheriff is taking in his new run for Senate. It actually embraces my new book, which I hope that Chaplain Wolly, my friend, and
Yes, sir.
yes, the sheriff will get this book, because I think the book is called The Kindness Code, and really what it sounds to me like is that the sheriff is running on a platform of kindness. That whole thing about the mentally ill and finding another solution other than the one of putting them in jail is an act of kindness. And it just seems to me that that's what we're missing in our cities, in our communities, in our nation. We've got to figure out the Good Samaritan's way. How do we really help people and not hurt them? So, congratulations, Sheriff. I have a vested interest, as you know, in the Sheriff's Department. And I'm just grateful for the fact that you're willing to run. In today's environment, making that decision can be quite frustrating, but I'm thankful that you're not giving up on community service.
Thank you for the kind words, and that investment does a great job.
All right, Bishop, hold on. We got to take a break here. And before we go, Sheriff, is there anything else you want to share with our community before we let you go?
Well, I hope everyone remembers on May 5th to come out and vote. So that's an important part. And when you're voting, if you vote, there's a couple other people running. Nothing bad to say about them. I just want a few more votes than the rest of them.
All right, Chaplain Wolly, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sheriff, thank you. All the
Thank you,
best
Jen.
to your campaign. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages.
Thanks. Thanks, sir.
This Women's History Month, Praise Indy proudly presents Inspire Her, a powerful celebration honoring the female trailblazers of Indianapolis, the leaders, the mentors, the entrepreneurs, the mothers, the visionaries, women who paved the way, and women who are creating new lanes every single day, from boardrooms to classrooms, to community blogs. Her impact is everywhere. And meet our daily honoree at PraiseIndy.com, where you can read her story and celebrate her impact. Inspire her, because when she rises, Indianapolis rises. On Praise, AM 1310, 95.1 FM, Indy's Inspiration Station.
Hey, what's going on? It's me, Ariana Beatty, here, Indy Community Journalism Director. Housing is a major issue in our city. The rent is too high and only getting higher. That's why I'm inviting you to our next Chat and Chew Housing Edition. Hear from a housing attorney and get your free guide to understanding evictions. It's going down Tuesday, March 24th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at North United Methodist Church, 3808 North Meridian Street. Chat and Chew Housing Edition, Tuesday, March 24th, 6 p.m. at North United Methodist Church, right off 38th and Meridian.
Save big money on your next painting project. Now at Menards. From your kitchen and bath to doors and trim, and even your ceilings, Dutch Boy has the perfect choice for your painting projects. Dutch Boy's Durafighter is a tough paint and primer that provides great scrub.
Got about 2 minutes.
Durability. Save big on Dutch Boy paints. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week. This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-505-5841 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-505-5841. That's 800-505-5841. What do you have to lose? Call 800-505-5841. Again, 800-505-5841. Dedicated people, excellent care. Eskenazi Health is looking for innovative and collaborative individuals with a desire to improve the health of our community. Eskenazi Health offers a team-based culture, excellent benefits, and opportunities for growth. Provide high-quality, patient-centered care at one of the top places to work in healthcare, as named by Becker's Hospital Review, and the #1 health system in Indiana for community benefit by the Lowndes Institute. Learn more about career opportunities by visiting eskenazihealth.edu/careers. One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved. Who let the dogs out? It's spruce, the weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people, pets, and bees. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour, and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Spruce, pet friendly, weed deadly. Find wherever weed killers are sold.
All right, welcome back to Unity in the Community. 317-480-1310 is the number to call if you would like to have something to share. But I want to get right to Bishop Tom Benjamin out there in Palm Spring, California. Thank you for sharing with us and being with us on today.
Yeah, it's good to be on the program. I remember spending many hours both in developing the program and being a co-host and a host. And I'm glad that you are doing so well with the program. I know Jeffrey Johnson and I had that vision, and we started that program many years ago. And to see that it's still going is really important, because a lot of the important information is being shared on Saturday. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you. And speaking of important information, your book is important, and those who would like to get it today, you can go to Amazon and look for the kindness code or Dr. Tom Benjamin, or you can go to Dr. Tom Benjamin TGBTG.com. That's Dr. Tom Benjamin TGBTG.com and order the book. I've ordered 11 copies and they came in, and they are just beautifully bound and exciting. And I want to ask you, Bishop, where did the motivation come from to write this important book?
Well, really good. Let me just say that you put that www. That World Wide Web thing. I think if you don't put it on there, you can't get the right information. But anyway, we'll talk about that later again. Yeah, I think that I think that we're being bombarded with an attitude across the nation, coming from the leadership of the nation, that is unsavory, unnecessary. It's mean spirited, and I could not think of a better time to introduce again the power of kindness. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to know how the book exactly got started, well, I would have to go all the way back to my grandmother, who was an incubator of kindness, and she raised me, and I was raised in that kind of environment that the more you give, the more God gives to you. And the nicer you are to people, doors open that you cannot even see. And I think when I think back on this, everything that I have ever received of value in this life has basically come as a result of that attitude. Kindness has opened every door. It's got me into college. It got me into seminary. It got me my first church. It got me light of the world. It got me my wife, who has been my life, all because of kindness. And kindness is something that Jesus talked about most powerfully, in the Good Samaritan parable, Luke 10. And it's worth reading again because when you read it, you're almost embarrassed about how far away many of us have fallen, uh, for the trap of hostility and contention and combativeness in this country. The politics are poisonous, and then we let this spill over into our everyday situation. What happened was I came back to Indianapolis, which is my hometown, and the people that I love, and I served there for 45 years plus. Came back to get an award from CTS, Christian Theological Seminary. And the award was the first of its kind, one of those living legend, first living legend award given by the seminary. And I I was honored and blessed to get that award. But while I was there, something happened. Not at the seminary, but while I was in town, I was driving around, and again, just coming off the highway down to 86th Street, that little place there where you have to stop for a long light. Ruth Chris restaurant is across the street. It's that intersection. There was a homeless guy there that was holding a sign, and he was looking, glaring into the car, and he said, the same story. I'm homeless. I'm divorced. My children are grown, but I don't have any income, and I need this, that, and the other. And we see it a lot, and of course, you can become kind of numb to it. And actually, I saw that. Not only did I feel numb, I was waiting. I said, I didn't look at the guy very long because he was glaring. Then I was looking at the light, praying that it would change quickly. And I didn't make any effort to respond to the man at all. Now, I found myself convicted. As I pulled into a parking lot, I actually wept because I said, you mean to tell me that you are the priest that's on the Good Samaritan road? And here's a man. Yes, I know there are many of them and women, and we could judge them if we wanted to, but we're not called to judge. You mean you couldn't respond in any positive way? So if you didn't have any money, could you roll down the window and said, God bless you, sir. May you be encouraged. Do you know Jesus? Because he hasn't given up on you. Don't you give up on him. I didn't do any of that. And I was embarrassed. And I was broken. And I thought about myself 30 years before that, the same kind of experience. I was fresh in my faith, and I understood what I needed to do, and I did the same thing, except the difference was I did just the opposite. 30 years ago, I actually invited the man to church, told him about Jesus, gave him some money, and went on about my business. And the man actually eventually showed up at the church. A white brother showed up at the church and stayed around for a couple of years. And people who belonged to the church at that time will remember that. But this is how it all came about. So I said, this last time, I said, oh, no, you can do better than that. So I began to think, and then I began to write, and then I began to be convicted again, and then I began to write some more and write some more. And God just poured out the book. And the kind of responses that I'm getting are just kind of overwhelming. People say, that was me. Mm-hmm. I pull up to those same traffic islands, and I see those people, and I judge them, and I feel bad afterwards, and I can do better than that. So that's what got me started, you know, on the book. I spent the past year, putting that book together, and it's a world changer. It is. It's. I hope that people who are listening to me will understand that I don't brag, and I don't really boast, but what I do tell you is the truth. You get this book, it'll change your look, and it'll change your life. It's directly a direct revelation from heaven. Direct. And it's good for churches. Like I heard you say you had 11 copies for studies with your deacons or with your membership or with your leadership, because we've lost that. We can be in, some of the meanest people. Look, I can say this and get away with it, but some of the meanest people I've met are in church. So, you know, it's not like the church doesn't need the kindness code. It certainly does. Some of the best people I've met in church, but I'm gonna tell you, church needs an overhaul too.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And let me ask you, Bishop, is this just a church thing? And what do you mean?
No.
What do you mean by igniting your superpower? Kind of two questions in one.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Look, actually, there are two things you need to understand about that. A superpower thing came from. Now that came from another direction. As a kid, I was a Superman fan. I had my little Superman outfit Halloween. I'd wear it, and go beg in the community. And I had this little Superman thing with the cape and I had the whole thing. And I, I, I thought about that in the last time I saw a movie about Superman. The last movie kind of convicted me too. I always saw Superman as a person who, jumped over buildings and single bound and faster than a speeding bullet and more powerful than a locomotive. But it hit me for the first time that Superman, his real genius, was his kindness, because everything he did, he was trying to get to help somebody. You know, I mean, he was, he would do all kinds of things that seemed like, strength, but the strength was in his kindness, because it was always the target was helping somebody. So that was kind of where the superpower thing came from. And then I said to myself, hey, that is your superpower too. And there's you don't have to you don't have to wear a cape. Look, there are people who have superpower that never have a cape or boots or change in a phone booth. It's just that is what God intended, because we were born. The theologians call it the imago Dei, the image of God. We're born in the image of God, which is pure kindness. So we're born to love, and kindness is love in action. I want to make that clear. Yeah, because we say we love people, but we don't really act always kind. So kindness is love in action. But we were born to be kind, but we've learned to hate and be hostile toward each other.
Yeah.
Black people, of which I am one, and a proud black man, but I'm not so proud that I can't speak to people in the grocery store and in the mall. We got a real problem. You don't know. It's really deep, and I'm out to break the thing up. We could be, we walk toward each other and look the other way. Don't even say a word.
Do you think that is inculcated into our culture? Years ago, I heard a lyric. There was a rapper, a very popular rapper, in fact, and he said, "Real N-word don't speak." And so it's kind of changed in our culture. There's social niceties that kind of came along.
Yeah, well, part of it, Pastor, is that we're thinking that kindness is weakness. And actually, this is my whole point. Kindness is really ultimate strength. If you want to attract the best, you want to change the world, kindness is the way, because kindness is God. And God is love. And love, never fails. It never fails. But our problem is we think we love, we can be married and say we love our partner, but we're not always kind to our partner. See, that's a real important distinction. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm getting at in the book. And love is great, but it has to be in action, and that's what kindness really, really is. So, yeah. So, yeah.
All right, Bishop, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear more about the Kindness Code, which you can get on Amazon and on the World Wide Web or www.drtombenjamintgbtg, which is to God be the glory.com.
Yes.
We'll be back after these messages.
This is reality radio. The truth is, that which may be one person's reality may be another person's dream, or maybe even be another person's denial of the impossible. Two different people can look at the very same identical situation and have two entirely different interpretations. But in reality, it isn't about what you're looking at, but actually it's about what you see and how you interpret it. Have you ever been in an argument with someone who has an entirely different opinion of the same occurrence, but what they claim is the antithesis of what you know really happened? Sometimes some people will diabolically pretend that you didn't really witness what you know you saw and interpreted correctly. They may even try to convince you that you shouldn't believe your lying eyes. There's a whole lot of that going on right now, but you should always go with your gut. This is Reality Radio with Kathy Hughes. What's your reality? What's your reality? We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-626-9692. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-626-9692. That's 800-626-9692. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
All right, welcome back. Headed to the top of the hour. Guy wants to say something about the book. Guy, thanks for joining us.
Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. And I'm always glad to speak to Superman.
Yeah. We all can be.
Seriously, though, I'm glad to see the book come out, and I think that it's very timely. I think that in these post-COVID days, I think we can all benefit And I think that, personally speaking, as I'm coming to my seasoned years, so to speak, I've noticed that in terms of getting around town and whatnot, I've been helped personally by people of all persuasions, whether it be Hispanic, Caucasian, brothers and sisters, you know. So I just wanted to say that to say that there are people that generally want to help people, and I think that's important to say. But at the same time, I think there's still a lot of people that are kind of hard, and they do turn their back a lot of times. But I think one thing that sometimes we miss, you know, there's a saying in the community: "What goes around comes around." And I think that this is very important, and people don't put enough emphasis on that because it's actually, you know, it's actually true. What goes around does come around. I can remember during the COVID situation, a lot of times there would be people on the street, you know, and I was able to help them in some respect, and it does definitely come back to you. So I just wanted to mention that.
The measure you give is the measure you get.
Absolutely. And good luck to you. And I wish I could be in Palm Springs, but we can't all have what we want.
It's 106 today. I'm not sure you want to be at that hot. You know, I know a place hotter than this, and I'm trying to stay away from that.
Absolutely. We got to stay away from that place.
Guy, thank you for your call and comment. Going to Bob. Bob, welcome to the program, and thanks for holding.
I'll make this quick, gentlemen. I think it's a time of celebration here in Indianapolis and Marion County this week, and I'll tell you why. Because 2 of the 3 Planned Parenthood locations have been closed. And Dr. Benjamin, I must say that in course with your what you're saying about the acts of kindness, you know, we are all born in sin and shaped in inequity. We're all the sinful nature. That plays a lot into this. And a previous caller, I'd like to share with him in reference to what he said in an earlier program today. Muslims do not celebrate the Easter season. They don't even recognize it. So I'll leave it at that, folks.
All right. Thank you for your call and comment. Dr. Benjamin, in chapter 12, you talk about the ripple effect. You cited a study from the University of California, Riverside that supports the phenomenon of the kindness code, which found people who perform small acts of kindness experience a measurable boost in happiness, one that motivates them to continue such behavior, and that this creates a positive feedback loop as kindness increases. So does well-being, reinforcing a culture of compassion. Can you say more about that?
Well, yeah, it's a way of life. I mean, this is what I was really trying to say, that I have had lapses, and I have confessed that both in the book, and I'm confessing that today on your program. But my lifestyle is kindness, and the result of it is godly success. I mean, the gentleman did say, who said, you know, I mean, we're back to the thing of the measure you give is the measure that you get. And so I'm actually trying to get people to wake that up in themselves, because it does have a ripple effect. And I can't even begin to tell you the difference between a person who is mean-spirited and the person who is kind-hearted. Mm-hmm. You're going to get 2 different results there, and you're going to get 2 different kind of harvests. You know, so the seeds that we plant, you can't plant okra and get bananas. I mean, it didn't work like that. You know, you have to. What you plant is what you're going to get. And so, what our people need to understand, and all people need to understand, is it's a change of attitude. Because, you know, we used to say that, you know, your attitude determines your altitude. I mean, it's a change of, a person can decide today, listening to this program, And this is what the book does. When you read the book actually has the anointing of the Holy Ghost on it. And it changes the way you think. As a man thinketh, the Bible says, so is he. Attitude, altitude, kindness, kingdom. Kindness code. You know, we used to use keys, but now in this society today, it's mostly codes. You have to know the code, punch it, and it opens the door.
Yeah.
This book has the code. I discovered it a long time ago. Not perfect with it, but it is my lifestyle, and it has brought tremendous harvest. And I believe it can be, it's not just for me, it's for everybody. Mm-hmm. And it starts with acknowledgement. I mean, this is why I'm back to this thing of just walking into a grocery store. What is this thing that we can't even speak to one another? We can't even look at one another. We look away. What is that? See, that's not godly. That's you. Good morning. How are you today? And sometimes people are off, and they say weird things. What's so good about it? That's okay. But good morning. How are you? Looking at the person. And I understand how women can feel some intimidation because in today's society, people are so wild and crazy. You try to be nice to a person, they think that you're either you're embracing them hitting on you or all that. But you got to learn how to just shake that kind of stuff off and be.
You can turn it off and on, so you turned it off.
Cash register, even if they're evil. See, what I do is when I see them stuck like that, I try to get them out of the ditch, and say, well, hey, how's it going? You okay today? You look great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was over there in that other section, and the lady was so nice to me. And you know what? I think you're nicer. I mean, I use everything I can because people get in a rut. And my job, I'm a Christian. I'm Christ-like, hopefully. And now if you go back to the to the parable, it really. I encourage our people to read the parable again. Read the parable again. Luke 10, 25 through 37. You've got to read it because in it that's us. And we have to determine what kind of response we're going to be making to the man who was beaten up and bruised and bloody on the side of the road. Are we going to be the priest, the bishop that walks by? Are we going to be the person that walks by? Are we going to be, who are we going to be? The Good Samaritan is where the reward is. He not only picked the man up, put him on his horse, took him to the inn, but gave him, he bandaged his wounds. But then he gave the innkeeper money to take care of the man and said he'll give him more if it costs more.
Yeah.
Well, you said, so, I mean, this is the stuff. But here's the thing I want to say. This is really, really important. We get nothing else out. I've come to the conclusion in my lifetime, 45 years of pastoring, and then the other years the Lord has given me.
The next show is pre-recorded, so no rush.
Week, and so do you. Next week, I guess. We have a birthday, Pastor. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. But I've come to this conclusion. Very, very important. I've come to the conclusion after all these years, preaching, teaching, church life, church people, all of that. It is my conclusion, and I think there'll be somebody out there who will shout, you might really have something there. I've come to the conclusion that Christianity and all religions worth their salt. This is in the book. Christianity and all religions worth their salt, world religions, are 90% kindness and 10% everything else. Mm. In other words, the rules, the regulations, the robes, the regalia, all that stuff we do in church and all that stuff, all that's important, but it's 10%. said is that if you can show people kindness as a way of life, you are in the mainstream of what it means to be a follower of Christ. Without kindness, I don't care if you're a deacon, an elder, a preacher, a choir member, a pew sitter. It doesn't matter. Kindness, you're wasting your time going to church and not being kind. I mean, what do you think the message is? So that's kind of how I built my church, Light of the World. And that's kind of what I taught my people. We're not perfect. We do have lapses. But if you want to change the world, in your world, and you start walking in kindness. Good morning. How are you this morning? God bless you. So nice to see you. Yes, can I do this? Yes, sure. I'd be glad to help you. Yes, I'll take the card. Thank you. No, ma'am. No, I can get that for you. That's okay. Yeah. But it starts with a nod, a smile. Hi, how are you? Hey. Not looking at the floor, not looking away, not looking stupid. But see, it has to be taught. I saw something online I did not like. Some woman was talking about kindness, and she said, we must not teach kindness to our daughters because they will be taken advantage of. Well, what kind of teaching is that? I mean, you have to teach your daughters kindness, and they could be taken advantage of, but you also have to teach them discernment, kindness and discernment, and where they can tell if somebody's getting on them and trying to hurt them versus someone who's just trying to be nice. And it's so sad to see women, particularly now, who are just afraid to even acknowledge a man speaking to them because they're afraid the man's going to take advantage of it. And I understand that. It's just that we got to be real smart about that and not let that hurt who we really are as people. Born to love.
All right.
Learn to be.
All right, Bishop, we'll let that be the last word. Thank you for being so kind to join us today. Enjoy.
Well, thank you for having me. You know, I'm passionate about these things as I've always been. So yeah. I hope folks get the message. Please get the book, though. It'll change your look.
All right. God bless you.
www.drbenjaminpgbtg.com or on Amazon. Thank you so much. God bless. Have a wonderful day. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate you and all those of you who are listening from all of us here at Praise AM 1310 95.1, Indy's Inspiration Station. Have a great Saturday.